All right, absolutely huge news for the Ryder Cup teams. Now, Mike, they're saying it's not a loophole, but it certainly sounds like one. Either way, it's great news for guys like Jon Rahm, Tyrell Hatton. We're going to dig into that in a second. We also have to talk about the huge success that LIV had over in Australia, and it makes me wonder if this is something, a huge stone that the PGA Tour had left unturned that they can certainly learn from. And, of course, the big news everybody's talking about. We got to dig into these huge payouts, the loyalty bonuses on the PGA Tour side. So there's a lot to talk about, but first we got to call it out. You guys know it's different. Where's the set? We're here at Golf Zone Social, and because we've got a huge announcement, we're going to be hosting a tournament of our very own. Stay tuned. We'll go over all the details, but whoever wins this tournament is walking away.
Dude, look at this.
With a $3,000 golf simulator. You're not going to want to miss this one. We're going to be hosting a tournament in Brooklyn this summer. We're going to give you guys all the details. First, though, we got to get into this. So let's talk about this loophole.
Yeah.
Whether it's a loophole, whether it's not. If anything, it's more of just a re-understanding, a re-clarification of the rules on the European side. Now, just to kind of get back into it and bring everybody up to speed, anybody who is not familiar with the rules, on the U.S. side, the U.S. team, it's the PGA, not the PGA Tour, that makes the teams up for the U.S. Ryder Cup team. And since the PGA never handed down any suspension, only the PGA Tour did, there was really no issue with adding LIV guys to that team. We saw Brooks Koepka,
sure, they just had to play their way in, or captain's pick.
Or a captain's pick, but there was nothing barring them from being in.
Right.
On the other side, it's the DP World Tour that effectively selects or has the pathway, the point system for the Ryder Cup team on the European side. Mm-hmm. So you had guys, and we're going to talk about this decision because it's going to really now becomes a key moment. But you had guys like Sergio Garcia and some of the other guys Ian Poulter as well, who withdrew their DP World Tour status. They resigned from the tour in order to avoid the fines. Other guys, Jon Rahm, Tyrell Hatton, are still technically DP World Tour members, but they're currently incurring fines and suspensions. And that's what this comes down to. That's the key. So here's what it really boils down to. Essentially, players who are still part of the DP World Tour but play in a LIV event on the same weekend, keep that in mind, are the ones who are subject to fines and suspensions. And we got clarification in the last week. This came from DP World Tour CEO Guy Kinnings. He said, there is no reason why players who have taken LIV membership and maintain membership of the DP World Tour could not qualify or be available for selection. It's not a loophole. It's the rules we've always had.
Right.
So he's speaking to that, clarifying specifically about the Ryder Cup. So he's saying there's no reason, there's nothing in the rules, and he's saying the rules haven't changed. This is just a better understanding. He's saying there's nothing in there that's saying that you can't be on both tours and still qualify your way in. And I think that raised a lot of eyebrows.
Yeah. Now, wait, I'm trying to understand this. So what's funny is the guys like Poulter, Westwood, and Sergio, I think they're like kicking themselves. Like, notice that Rahm and Hatton are later additions to LIV, years later.
Right.
They knew something those guys didn't know. Those guys resigned fast. These guys, they must have been told something like, don't resign. We still got a pathway.
Yeah.
You think it's unfair for those earlier guys?
Well, some of those names, so like we talked about, you've got Sergio Garcia, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood. Now, one could argue those are the guys who are kind of towards the tail end of their career.
They might not make it anyway. They're Ryder Cup legends.
Ryder Cup legends, Ryder Cup staples in a lot of ways.
You might want Poulter on your team, yeah.
But they're also the guys who, admittedly, would want to wind down a little bit with their career, might not want to be grinding it out and playing on both tours.
Yep.
They, at the time, and as you said, this has happened, when they were some of the first guys to jump over to LIV.
Yeah, it was fresh out of the gate.
They were like, what am I going to sit here and incur fines for? I'll just resign my membership. I'm just going to play all my rounds over at LIV. Right. So here's where the rubber meets the road when it comes to those fines and suspensions, right? And this is how they get incurred according to these rules. So it's DP World Tour members who play in a LIV event on the same weekend as a DP World Tour event are the ones subject to fines and suspensions. So again, he's saying it's not a loophole. Again, it's a clarification going on from there. He said, so long as they pay those fines and or serve those suspensions, and so long as they still compete in 4 DP World Tour events each year, they're still eligible in the Ryder Cup.
Do we know what the suspension is?
I believe it's something that can be handed down on a case-by-case basis. I don't think that they've got a written protocol that missing this event is this many game suspension. I don't know.
Because there's another loophole. It's like I will purposely get suspended because there's a live event next week, so that I'm suspended from the DP World Tour. I won't be. You know what I mean?
It's true.
There's so many loopholes.
If you're suspended, are they compounding? You're saying
right,
at that point.
Right.
It's a very good point. But we've mentioned this here on the podcast before. We've talked about this, and we've said if the other tours, the DP World Tour, Asian tours, other tours that do have official world golf ranking qualifiers, if that's going to continue to be LIV golfers' pathways into things like majors, Ryder Cups, etc., it would be very unsurprising to me to see the LIV golf schedule structured to not conflict with certain events.
Yeah.
And I think this is even more incentive to do that. Yeah. Now, this is a whole other wormhole. We're going to have to go down this on another podcast, but you recently had another low-level tour, European tour, 54 holes that got official world golf rankings. However, there's some nuances to that. There's a cut structure. There's feeder tours. There's things like that LIV still hasn't quite checked all those same boxes. So as of this moment, that's not a differentiator. Doesn't mean LIV is getting points immediately. Right. So as far as points go and Ryder Cup goes, LIV is going to have to keep a close eye on their schedule and how it directly conflicts or potentially directly conflicts with DP World Tour events, because each time that happens, guys like Rahm are going to have, now fines are one thing. Got more money. Money is not a problem.
It's not the issue. They'll
you know what I mean? It reminds me of that Forrest Gump quote.
Check, to be honest, for that. Yeah. They're the ones
they
making
could.
The schedule. You never know.
Like, well, we didn't have to worry about money anymore.
Right.
Like Forrest Gump. It just makes me wonder, like, if it's fines, fine. Fine me,
but
they'll
what
pay
is the
it.
Suspension, dude? That's
what is the suspension, and would that run into the Ryder Cup? They're going to have to watch that closely. But regardless, it does make you wonder. Guys like Sergio, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, who did resign their membership, do they then effectively reapply for membership in the DP World Tour to put their name in the hat for potential Ryder Cup?
Right.
And it's a question they're going to have to say in their career of where they want to be.
Yeah, true.
But it truly shows that these guys have a pathway. However, it's going to mean some of these guys, and some of the guys who said that their incentive to moving to LIV was to be with their family more, play less, stuff like that. That might be a pipe dream, because a lot of these guys may have to now be splitting their time between the two tours.
Yeah, see how it all changed? It might, like you said, I was about to play less golf, but now I have to play even more just to make it to Ryder Cup. But that's on them. There's in no way do I see Jon Rahm not being on that team in 2025.
Right.
For some reason, I just feel like he'll be there. They'll figure this thing out. The loop, that's great. I think LIV's got it dialed in.
And it makes you wonder how much of a catalyst was it when Jon Rahm went, when you had guys like Rory saying there's no way he's not on that team. Rory wants him on that team. Now, Rory is still a very big name and face on the DP World Tour. And we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but he could have been, elbowing in there and telling Guy Kinnings, like, make some sort of clarification statement. This guy, we can't lose. At some point, we'll lose so many guys. You lose Hatton, you lose, Rahm. You start to lose these guys, and it's like we can't put up a fight at the Ryder Cup, and nobody wants that.
Would you agree those are the only two names that really are could make the team, should be on the team? Think about it. I mean, like you said, there's other guys who are at their end of their career.
Well, on the European side too, and this is my fault for forgetting his name, but it was a younger kid who was making a lot of waves over there that could possibly be, and regardless, what it shows you is that the ones who are going to suffer, and we've said this, I think, every single week here on the podcast now, is just saying they've got to do some sort of deal and get these two leagues somehow communicating and functioning together, because the ones who are going to get burnt ultimately are us as the fans who want to see this. None of us want to see a Ryder Cup that doesn't have Jon Rahm in it, that doesn't have the best European players. None of us, as much as I would love to see, our side, the U.S. team, win every year. Sure. I don't want to win unless it's against the best guys over there. Right? So you see that. Also, we've got the PGA Championship coming up. As these majors start to roll around, it hurts us not having certain guys in that field. And that's why ultimately either coming up with a resolution for official world golf rankings or some sort of other call it a loophole or don't, pathway. These guys can play in the DP World Tour, whatever they can do to accrue the points needed to get them in the field, because it may not be right now, because some of these guys like Jon Rahm have exemptions.
Yep.
But if this continues to drag out, which is what it looks like it's doing, and it drags out year over year, and then in 3, 4, 5 years from now, we start to see some names that we would really like to see in those events drop off, I think we all get hurt for that.
Oh, yeah. No doubt about it. It's going to be interesting how this thing unfolds. I mean, we're in a non-Ryder Cup year, but...
wheels are already in motion,
Yep.
selecting teams, looking at teams, planning for teams, captains, things like
Captain
that.
should be announced soon.
Exactly.
You would think.
So
Yeah.
it just shows you we are not too far away to start thinking about this critically.
Yeah.
The other thing that I want to talk about is what I would call a dramatic success. Whether you and we've kind of said from the start, it's like I'm not here to take sides, LIV, PGA Tour, etc. We're fans of the game. I just like to watch good golf, right? So I'm not rooting for one side or the other side to get hurt or have a win.
Yeah.
Objectively, though, you have to say that the LIV event, whether you're a fan of LIV or not, the LIV event in Australia this past weekend was perhaps the biggest win LIV
what
has
they
had in
needed.
as long,
They
and
definitely
even there since its inception.
Yeah, no, without question. It's easily their largest event ever. But to me, I feel like, okay, they're in Singapore this week. Is it just going to go back to the way it was? Like, is it just Australia's an automatic win because of Norman and Leishman and Cam? And
Well, I think the hard thing is
the
to say
history
that
there.
I don't think there's anything that's automatic. I have to tip the hat to LIV, if for no other reason, the fact that they then gave a whole continent, an audience of people who are dying for a golf event, they're the ones who gave it to them. And the proof the evidence was in the attendance. So you had 94,000 fans attend LIV's Adelaide event. And we'll talk about Norman's quotes here in a second, but I think it was a lot of vindication for him being an Australian. And you think about the amount of great Australian golfers who don't get to play on home turf.
Yeah.
You think Cam Smith until he went over to LIV. You think Jason Day, Min Woo Lee.
Yeah.
You know, these are guys, like, clearly there's a strong culture of golf in Australia, and they showed up.
Yeah,
Right?
big time.
And I don't think they showed up because it was LIV. I don't think it was a protest against the PGA Tour.
think so either.
I think they showed up because someone finally saw them.
yeah.
Right, and recognize that there's a great, and you look at the audiences, it was something the PGA Tour craves, a youthful, energetic audience. This was
hype, dude.
finally, to me, after years, this was LIV living up to its golf but louder.
Yeah, I think no doubt. I think this is equivalent to like Australia's Coachella. I mean, this is like they were planning this in advance. Like they knew it was coming to town. They all got hyped for it. Like Australia came out for this event,
Right.
and they're probably going to come out even more so every single year. They should go back and do multiple events there.
And they had, the watering hole. They really fed into it. And there are going to be some, just like the Waste Management Phoenix Open here, there are going to be some who say it went too far and it was too much for them. Some people were complaining the celebrations were over the top. To me, they're just kind of par for the course.
Yep.
If you compare it to the similar business model of Formula One, that's what they do, spraying the champagne, all that stuff. But to me, again, it comes down to, and yes, it may ebb and flow. There may not be as big of an audience in certain spots. We'll see what happens and see what unfolds in Singapore. But this shows me maybe this is the place for these tours to come together. Maybe this is where LIV truly becomes the international arm of top-tier professional golf. Because the reality is, you can make the statement, and a lot have said it, that the PGA Tour overlooked Australia for too long and should have done more events there. However, the PGA Tour being a business too, realizing the vast majority of its viewership is here in the States,
sure.
and you do have a time change difference where if broadcast is the almighty dollar, if that's truly what rules the roost is broadcast, not just on-site attendance, because they prove they can get on-site attendance. I wonder how much American broadcast translates. But maybe this is where the two can work together. LIV can be that international tour, bring, professional, high-level, top-tier, top-caliber name golf to areas that the PGA Tour has widely, for whatever reason, overlooked for many years.
Yeah, makes sense.
But regardless, I'm looking at some of the clips. It was objectively electric.
It was.
You know, and it was a the vibe there. It was a not, I wouldn't call it a party, but it was just like a, you know, because it wasn't carefree. It was a sporting event with a lot of passion.
Yeah, I mean, it's rare if ever you see Scotty Scheffler chip in and he's chest bumping the crowd.
Right.
You know, you don't see that.
Right.
Some people love it.
Some people love it. Some people hate it.
Yep.
But at least here, there's become an option for an entire a continent that is very invested in the game of golf that was widely passed over by top tier professional golf. Mm-hmm. So I think we've got to tip our hats to LIV for doing that. And you know, we'll read a quote from Greg Norman. And I don't think anyone would be more invested in it than Greg, who is Australian himself. So he said, "Vindication is not the right word. It's the ignorance of others who simply didn't understand what we were trying to do. I actually feel sorry for them because now they see the true value of LIV Golf and they want to be a part of it. The support Australia gave me during my own playing career for decades was something I have never forgotten. It's why I brought LIV Golf back home. I did it for them. The people have well and truly spoken. Both individual and team golf is alive and well in Australia, and they deserve it. I knew they would support this event. I'm feeling extremely proud right now. What we've done, with what we've LIV Golf gone through over the past 16 months, both as a league and what I've copped personally, it makes it all worthwhile. Is basically what he said. Mm-hmm. So there, he's pointing out exactly that fact. Like, he had a personal, you know, motivation to go back to Australia, and it's proven the pudding. Like I said, that Australia is a golf nation, and it's been widely overlooked.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, if anyone's having I don't think anyone's having a better April than Norman, between what happened at Augusta with all the positive vibes, and you know, that must have like made his world, and then to go back home and to have impressive numbers like that.
Right.
My man's riding high right now.
He is, and I think, happens. Like I said, there's a lot of PGA Tour executives saying like, shoot, this is proof we should have invested more time in Australia. So huge overlook there. Let's pause. Let's do a quick word from our sponsor. And I also want to give you guys the details of our own tournament. So we're going to talk about that. But then when we come back, we're going to talk about these massive payouts, $1.5 billion that the PGA Tour is paying out, and effectively loyalty bonuses for the guys who didn't go over to LIV. And we're going to talk about, even that high number, is it enough?
Yeah.
So let's do a word from our sponsors. Come right back. All right, guys, so like we said, we are going to be hosting a huge tournament June 22nd. It's going to be in the brand new Brooklyn location of Golf Zone Social. This place is incredible. We said it's the best simulation experience in golf, hands down, out there. The floors move. The putting is so real. Yeah. The scoring is spot on. It's why we trust it to host a real tournament there. So we're going to have both gross and net leaderboards, tons of prizes, trophies. We had a blast last time we did this, and we're going to make it even bigger this time. And in fact, speaking of bigger, we've got here a brand new Golf Zone Wave. This is a simulator for your home. You've got the putting. You've got everything in there. 100 golf courses.
It's amazing.
This thing
Graphics,
is legit. We did a whole review of it on our main YouTube channel. It's been one of the most talked about home golf simulators because it's a really fantastic experience, tee to green. And our winner is going to take that home. So on top of that, we're going to have drinks. We're going to have food. It's going to be a fun event. Don't miss this summer tournament. We're going to link in the video description. You can go, or if you're listening to this podcast, you can get it at the show notes. Go there, get registered. It's a huge space, lots of simulators, but there's also going to be a lot of people who want to play. So it's going to be a bit first come, first serve. Yep. Don't wait until summer to register. Get registered now. Reserve your spot. Don't miss this one. I tell you what, it's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be fun, and if you don't make it in, you don't make the cut to come in and play, come and hang out.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean,
yeah, there's no charge to come, hang out, and just be part of the tournament. Watch the event, especially if you don't want to play. But the good news is we're gonna have gross and net leaderboards. So even if you're a high handicap, you still stand a chance to win some prizes. So don't miss this one.
Our net winner last year was shocked that
he
won.
was.
But
he was shocked.
Scoring system, handicap, it helps.
Yep.
All right, guys, the all-new FootJoy Pro SLX are here. I mean, these shoes are engineered with the Power Track system, transforming golf footwear with its innovative 3D X-Wing. I've worn these shoes countless times
Yeah.
since they came out, even down a Stream Song. They're great. Talk about traction and control. Like when you swing a golf club, you want some type of traction underneath your feet, obviously. You don't want to be sliding, slipping out there. But
the X-Wing's not just pretty.
It's
it
not
works.
just pretty. Yeah. They got some smart people behind it.
works, yeah.
I mean, it's got this exposed heel stabilizer, which effectively manages that lateral and upper movement. So it's $189 for a pair of shoes. They're built to last, guys. Trust me. You're not going to buy them and play 2 rounds in them.
Right.
It might last you for the entire season. Pick up a pair. Pick up 2 pairs. They got so many different colors. Go check out the entire lineup of the Pro SLX on FootJoy's website.
And guys, recently we got fit for the new Vokey SM10 wedges, and I can tell you firsthand, there's really nothing you can do for your short game that's going to improve more dramatically than just a fresh set of grooves. And we've been playing with countless PGA Tour pros, and you just see the obsession with which they keep those grooves sharp and clean. So if you've been, kind of gaming the same wedges for quite a while now, what you might not realize is that you're losing some of that bite. You're not getting, that low penetrating spinny flight that you really want to get from your wedges. And as those grooves wear down, you just kind of slide up the face and you lose a lot of that. So if you're focused on that distance control, trajectory, spin, the real keys to a great wedge game, you owe it to yourself to go and check out the new Vokey SM10 wedges. And even more so, you owe it to yourself to go get fit. When we recently got fit, there were so many bounce and grind options. Having a talented fitter be able to walk you through that. And the cool thing with wedges too, unlike all the other clubs in the bag, they're the most versatile. They're the ones that we play the most different types of shots with. Think about your wedges opening up the face, high shots, low shots, sand shots, chipping around the fringe, that deep, heavy stuff around the greens. There's so many different ways to use it, and being able to fine tune that and dial that in is where those scores really start to drop. So go to check them out. Check out the Vokey. Go to Vokey.com. Look for a fitter near you. Take a look at the SM10s and make that investment in your game
and then
this year.
customize them.
Yeah, and then that's when it really gets fun.
Coolest part.
Putting the customization in. So definitely check that out. Tell them we sent you, because like I said, since we got those wedges, the game is just so much more confidence around those greens. Okay, so the big news this week was the circulation. The first reported on by the Telegraph, talking about what some of these numbers were, and they're not calling it this, but effectively it's a loyalty payout for the guys who stayed on the PGA Tour.
And kind of knew it might be coming. We'll talk about it,
and we've been talking about it here on the podcast, guys. Like the investment that they've gotten from like Strategic Sports Group, and this is why the PGA Tour has been pulling in those outside investors. They're still continuing to talk with the PIF for that investment, because at the end of the day, if the tour is going to compete financially with LIV, they've got to have a means of doing that.
Sure.
Now, I full well understand that it just seems like we're all, as fans, we're all tired of hearing it. We're all tired of hearing how much these guys are making. Right. We all want them to, get back to playing golf, so to speak. But there is another side of that, and there's a big but to that. For us, these guys have to keep playing. In order for us to enjoy. So, like, there's a real financial decision. There's not just players, there's the teams that they have to support, there's agents, there's things like that, and there's undoubtedly players who get pressured, and we know full well there's a lot of people, and we respect all those opinions. There's a lot of people who are totally anti-LIV. They're not going to turn LIV on at all, and maybe those want to see that their favorite players rewarded for sticking around.
Sure, yeah, definitely.
But in a way, it also feels a little bit like the rich getting richer.
Yeah, because
topping that list, undeniably, Tiger Woods, a reported $100 million he's going to be pocketing. And we've said this is very similar to the PIP, right?
Yes.
So with the PIP, we've said year over year, it just seems like Tiger posts 2 things on Twitter throughout the year. He takes home $10, $12 million,
world.
But you could also make the argument, Tiger's earned it. Tiger is the needle.
Sure.
And the reality is, and we can speculate all we want, we never got official confirmation, but there were numbers floated around out there that Tiger had potentially been offered $1 billion to go to LIV. And it may seem like silly, it may seem like laughable numbers, but it's really not. When you think about top names in the game, and you think about even some on the soccer side, some of the names, like these guys, and the offers have been thrown out there. Mbappe with $1 billion offer to go play. The money is there from the PIF. So it's totally possible Tiger was offered that. So this is a 10th of that.
So what I was going to say is, it feels like the way that the list sounds is it's possible that the tour is offering him a 10th of what they were. offered by LIV? Because we don't know what Spieth was offered. We don't know what JT was offered. But I think Spieth and JT are like 30 million ish.
Right.
So
And
maybe they were offered 300.
next on the list, Rory
Maybe
McIlroy,
Rory's offered 500.
50 million. And a lot of people
back
speculate
then.
he was offered 500 million.
So
I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, we could theorize,
But you were telling me earlier, we were chatting about this. Of the 1.5, about half of it's going to how many people?
So we get this.
Yeah.
Total number, $1.5 billion. It's going to be split amongst 193 golfers who remain on the tour. But 750 million of that, so more than half, significantly more than half, is going to the 36 biggest names who stayed on the tour. So 36 big names. So
there's your top 30.
Listen to this list. Tiger Woods 100 million, Rory McIlroy 50 million, Jordan Spieth 30 million, Justin Thomas 30 million. Absent from that initial report is, of course, the hottest name right now, Scottie Scheffler.
Right.
But you got to think, when it comes to an overall value that the tour has for these guys, it's no different than the PIP. Scottie is, he's on TV all day Sunday and he's winning the events, but he's very quiet social media. That's not his personality. That's not his persona. And the PIP is generated that way. It's for the guys who become household names and whatever. No doubt Scottie's going to get some money because the last thing the tour wants is him going to LIV and losing another top name.
Right.
But I'm sure there's internal conversations. How much we pay each guy? Who are the guys who realistically are not going anyway? Maybe we don't need to pay him as much. So you can think of it what you will, and I'd love to hear you guys' comments. Make sure you comment below and let us know what you think about these payouts. Regardless, it's significantly less than a lot of these guys would have gotten to go to LIV, but it's something, and it makes me wonder then, why? Why now and why this much?
Because you got to protect your product. If you start losing more people, I think it's their best investment with that money. Protect the product, keep the names that are here. Let's not lose any more.
So let me ask you this. As we speculate of whether these two tours are going to come together, is this a sign of pulling apart or a sign of coming together? And what I mean by that is you could think of it two ways. You could think this is a sign of you didn't go, here's money for your loyalty, and now because you're giving you this money, you're guaranteeing you're not going, staying here.
Right.
Or is this, guys, the tours are going to come together. We don't want you to resent each other. So for the guys who stayed here, you made some money too. Now let's all be happy, shake hands, and bring them back in. Which one is it?
Oh, man.
Right?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. That's a good one. You could debate that for a while.
It could almost be either.
Yeah.
And I think to a certain extent, we've talked about this before. We said part of what's hanging up the tours coming together is that on the PGA Tour side, it's still a member-led organization, and those guys have to be happy with the idea of coming together, right? And there's undoubtedly the possibility of some resentment over there of still holding out that I stayed here, I stayed loyal, and I didn't get any money out of it. If this calms that down and say, okay, guys, everybody got rich. Let's put it behind us. To varying degrees, you got rich, but everybody got rich.
Send Norman a thank you card.
Yeah, here's $5 million extra dollars because Norman split off this league.
Right.
And you didn't go. And now, by the way, the purses on the PGA Tour are astronomical. You're going to make a lot of money staying here. So can we put this behind us and can we lead this to the agreement that we need to proceed? I don't know.
We shall see.
We shall see.
It's an interesting thought, man, but is it enough? But the interesting part is there's going to be a lot of guys that are like no-namers. I mean, I hate to call them no-namers, but they're not in the top 10 or on the TV every week. That might get a $500,000.
There will undoubtedly be guys. Yes, there'll be guys who are toward the bottom of that 193 golfer list that they're names that are not known household, and maybe they take home six figures.
Yeah, guys are trying to hang on. Their caddies are trying to hang on.
Right.
Yeah.
And some of those guys may not have had a LIV deal on the table.
Right.
Right? So this is, to them, it's gravy. So anyway, huge stuff here. Regardless, I think each week we're just kind of inching closer to some sort of indication of where we're going to go with this. But for now, we can only speculate based on what we're seeing here. Regardless, though, you got to tip the hat, like I said, whether you're a fan or not, to LIV of what they did in Australia. I think I was encouraged to see how strong golf is truly in Australia from a fan standpoint, and it makes me kind of hope that beyond LIV, that other tours will do some more there, and other than just maybe hosting the President's Cup there every decade, once every decade, doing a little bit more for those fans who are clearly there craving more and seeing more.
Bring the LIV Championship back there. Don't do it in Miami. Do it there.
Right. It almost make more sense.
Yeah.
right? So anyway, that's everything we got for you guys. Make sure you sign up for the tournament. Don't miss this one. It's going to come up really quick this summer. Like I said, the link will be in the video description or in the show notes if you're listening to the show. Subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching.